This is the 2023 garden tour of the Gethsemane School in Chad. Made a little progress, just wanted to make an update here. My friend came with a drone, got some cool shots. So you can do a little flyover here. It's kind of fun. We got the school in the foreground there, and then the gardens, orchards, and then some administrative housing, and then at the end here is some adobe housing built for the teachers, where they live in a community here. There's not a lot of green on that plot because they have preferred raising goats to raising plants and trees, and that's their choice, I guess. In the center of the property is the pit garden, which is a pit that was used to make bricks at one point. It's a cooler microclimate that holds the moisture a little bit better than the surrounding sandy soil. And then around the perimeter of the pit here, which is the highest point in the property, we've got date palms. Had our first date blossoms this year. Unfortunately, they're all male so far, so no female date trees yet. And this is a progress shot here, 1.5 years. So the trees spring up pretty fast in this warm climate, as long as everything is hand watered. A lot of the fertility is coming from compost that we're doing that's really improving the biodiversity of the soil, and which has allowed me to garden essentially what is the subsoil of the pit. But it's producing some good results, obviously, as compost does. We had a guava tree that was dying, looking sad. Leaves are turning yellow. The leaves fell off. Some of the branches had already dried up before I remembered the magic of compost, which we got to be reminded of from time to time, I guess. I dumped a whole wheelbarrow of the stuff under the tree, dug it in deep, watered it copiously, and it turned around real nicely. It's budding back now. We get a lot of our nutrient for that compost from the school cattle. We have about 50 head now. They're multiplying well, and under the careful watch of a Fulani nomadic herder who's also a war refugee from Central African Republic. So that's where a lot of our fertility comes from. Here we see them coming home from pasture during the day. They pasture sort of free range, but with the shepherd out in the bush during the day. And here we have them coming home, and they sleep in an enclosure, and so that's where we get all the manure. And it is showing results in the lush, the green, and the food production that's going on right now in the gardens. So let's just take a little walk through the food forest, see what's going on. It's a momentous occasion, the first time we're going to be culling one of our trees for building materials. This garden is 3 years old. We already have poles from our senna tree. This is exciting, not only because we get materials, but because we also get mulch that will benefit the fruit trees. We have a lemon tree coming up here, a lime tree rather. And so we're going to mulch the lime tree with all the leaves and branches, and then we'll have poles. We're building a shower. We need some poles. That's the beauty of a forest garden. Over here we have a date palm. More citrus. Here we have pomegranate. This is an annual garden, and the glorious pit, which is its own forest garden microclimate in and of itself. But back to the tree. We're going to cull building materials, and then it will sprout up faster and straighter than before. So in 3 to 4 years, we'll get poles again. And meanwhile, the fruit trees will get sunshine because the tree's been chopped down. Chop it about yay tall. Easy access next time we want to chop it. In addition, if you want to look closer, behind me is a swale. And we actually, unorthodox, I know, we have fruit trees in the swale. We have pomegranate here, we have mango over there, and then outside the swale we have leaf cassava, which we chop down once or twice a year. It just grows that fast. For biomass, the leaves are vegetables, locals love to eat them, and the sticks are used all over my garden for training the beans and all the climbers. Anyway, more elements of the fruit. I'll get back to chopping now. I don't have a battery in it. Welcome to the tropical rainforest. We have a water tower. It overflows and produces bananas. Come on in. here. We dug a small canal that takes all this excess water, winds it through a fairly large area. We've just planted another 16 feet of banana trees all throughout this area. That's a new project. Hopefully it'll look like these big ones in short order. So this banana production is just unheard of for Chad, but it's thanks to all the water that's overflowing from the solar pump out of the water tower. We decided to extend that system. So from the drone footage you can see the canal here. It looks like the squiggly double river up there. We've patterned after sort of the natural flow of a stream. And so in the background you see the lush growth of established bananas around the water tower, and then in the foreground you see what look like the dead sticks there. Those are actually new banana plants that are in the ground. So the whole thing should be lush within a few months, and hopefully producing loads and loads of bananas. At the end of rainy season, everything dries up pretty quickly, and so this is teachers starting their gardens after the harvest out in their fields of sorghum and peanuts and beans and so forth. They come to the school where there's a water supply, and they start gardening. So they install these eye pits, waffle gardens, and once things start growing it looks really pretty. Until it looks kind of like this. These are the school grounds right now with our young fruit trees and lots of annual garden in between. The teachers' wives and kids are pretty happy. Free water is rare here in Chad, but since we supply it to the school and the staff gets to use it for free to grow these gardens, and they make additional income off of that. In rainy season, this would all look so green you couldn't tell one thing from the next. So it's nice in dry season you actually can see what's going on. On the horizon are some eucalyptus trees popping up there. In the middle ground you see the annual gardens. In the foreground is a guava tree, and on the right the pods of a moringa tree. And in between the two you can see the white sticks of a baobab. There are also native fruit trees that pop up in there. We leave it all. We leave the native trees, because who knows, maybe there will be a technological failure, maybe in sometime in the future the exotic fruit trees like guavas and mangoes won't be able to be maintained, and so the native trees will take over and it will be a native food system. This is a drive-by the school property where you can sort of see a mixture of native trees, exotic trees, and annual gardens going on in there. The gardening is fun. Trees are awesome. I love the food forest. But it's, of course, a school, and that's the most important thing, is how we're contributing to the lives of the children. Their mothers come and pick moringa leaves and cassava leaves for their sauce on a daily basis, or they purchase leaves from the teachers' gardens. And the kids are playing on trees that we planted just 4 years ago. This is a baobab tree, and that's an African mahogany tree. You'd think we posed the kids for these photos, but this is just reading day. This is library day, and they just hang out under the trees and read their books. Teach them how to garden on Saturdays. They're planting a lettuce garden here where they're using compost, planting lettuce starts and mulching it. Lettuce is a good crop because it allows them to obtain a yield pretty quickly, and they're learning what it is to create fertile soil. Here's a view of the food forest as it is today, a little over head height, grown with the fertility from school cattle and chop and drop. We've already done a good deal of that. And this is the branches that you saw in the earlier video clip I was chopping down. Now they're all dried up. I should chop them up real small and all that to be good mulch, but the fact is the termites will do it for me in a little longer period of time. And I always like to look at my garden at night. I come out at night, I see it differently, I see different things, I see patterns rather than details. And this shot sort of grasps my imagination here. As you can see, many different species of trees, native and exotic, by the moonlight. And that's the update.